The living room of the Lee residence was wide and airy, warm golden light spilling over the shelves stacked with family photographs. 𝐁𝐞𝐬 sat stiffly on the sofa across from 𝐷𝐿𝐿, nursing a glass of water. On the surface, he seemed calm, engaged in 𝐷𝐿𝐿's casual talk about the wedding preparations, but his dark eyes betrayed him, wandering again and again around the house. Wine hasn't come back yet, 𝐷𝐿𝐿 said casually, leaning back. His tone carried no weight, no suspicion, just an absent remark in the middle of conversation. 𝐁𝐞𝐬's fingers tightened around the glass before he forced his hand to relax. He lowered his gaze quickly, hiding the flicker of desperation in his eyes. She's been busy at work these days, 𝐷𝐿𝐿 added, unaware of the sudden stillness in 𝐁𝐞𝐬's posture. 𝐁𝐞𝐬 only hummed in reply, his jaw working, throat suddenly dry. Just then, the front door clicked open. 𝐷𝐿𝐿, a bright, familiar voice rang through the hallway. The sound struck 𝐁𝐞𝐬 like a jolt of electricity. He looked up sharply, breath catching. Wine's voice. She stepped inside, taking off her shoes while balancing her handbag awkwardly. Her hair fell messily across her shoulders, her cheeks slightly flushed from the chill outside. My colleague Steve said, he wants to see you. Oh, her words spilled out casually as she padded closer to the living room, one hand pushing back her hair, and then she froze, her eyes landed on him. For a heartbeat, the room stopped existing. 𝐁𝐞𝐬 sat there unchanged yet totally different. The boy from 7 years ago now molded into a man, sharp lines on his face, confidence in his posture. But those eyes, the same eyes that once looked at her blankly when she had poured out her heart. I like you. Her younger voice echoed in her mind, trembling but stubborn. That day when she had stood in front of him, clutching her notebook, trying to smile. And his voice, cold, flat, certain, had cut through her. I'm not interested. I don't plan on being in a relationship, and you are too young for these things. Her stomach knotted as if it were yesterday. She blinked hard, pulling herself back to the present, forcing her lips into a polite curve. Oh, I didn't know we had a guest. Hello. Her voice was light, casual, but her fingers gripped the strap of her bag too tightly. 𝐁𝐞𝐬 stared at her, his gaze drinking her in, as though he couldn't believe she was real. Hello, Wine. He said softer than he intended. The sound of her name lingered on his tongue, strange after years of silence. Before she could respond, 𝐷𝐿𝐿 smirked knowingly, leaning back with an obnoxious grin. Hey, Wine, Steve's been calling me non-stop about you. Should I be worried? Wine shot her brother a glare, cheeks flushing as she sweated at him playfully. 𝐷𝐿𝐿 shut up. Her laughter bubbled out anyway. Effortless. The same laugh 𝐁𝐞𝐬 remembered. And it burned him. Steve. 𝐷𝐿𝐿 chuckled, thoroughly enjoying her reaction. Go on, change already. Dinner's almost ready. She rolled her eyes, still giggling, and slipped past them without so much as glancing at 𝐁𝐞𝐬 again. The sound of her footsteps fading down the hallway, a ringing silence behind. 𝐁𝐽𝐬's hand tightened on the glass again, his chest constricted. The sight of her laughter still vivid in his mind. She didn't even look at me, not once. His thoughts raced wildly, colliding with the past. She had once stood in front of him with trembling hands, confessing like he was the only person who mattered. Now she breezed by him like he was just another guest. 𝐷𝐿𝐿 tilted his head, eyeing him with mischief. So Steve, he's her colleague. Good guy. She talks about him a lot. 𝐁𝐽𝐬's jaw flexed. Oh, what kind of guy is he? He asked, attempting nonchalance, but his voice was too sharp, too quick. 𝐷𝐿𝐿 smirked. Why planning to make a background check? I was just asking. 𝐁𝐽𝐬 muttered, sipping his water, though it tasted like nothing. You sure you're not being nosy, 𝐁𝐽𝐬? 𝐷𝐿𝐿 teased, watching with amusement as 𝐁𝐽𝐬's ears reddened. Later, 𝐷𝐿𝐿 clapped his hands, calling for the maid. Send 𝐁𝐽𝐬's luggage to the guest room. He'll be staying here until the wedding. 𝐁𝐽𝐬 nodded absently, still lost in thoughts. He couldn't untangle. By dinner, the long table was full of chatter and clinking cutlery, mistily cracked jokes. 𝐷𝐿𝐿 bickered with his fiancé, and the warm smell of food filled the air. And there she was again. Wine sat across the table, her laughter spilling out as she teased her father about his stubbornness. The glow on her face, the way she leaned forward, immediately made 𝐁𝐽𝐬's chest tighten. His chopsticks still midair. He couldn't stop staring. Every smile, every flicker of light in her eyes, it was unbearable. She shifted uncomfortably once, catching his gaze, and quickly looked away, pretending to focus on her food. Her heart hammered against her ribs just as it had years ago, but now she masked it with a smile, with chatter. Meanwhile, 𝐁𝐽𝐬 sat drowning in the realization that while she had moved on, loved, lived, he had been the fool stuck in that single moment, in her trembling confession, replaying it endlessly in his mind, and now she was here, too close yet impossibly far. At night, the house was quiet, most of the lights turned off except for the soft glow from the kitchen. One crouched down, head buried in the lower cabinet as she rummaged for some snacks, her hair slipped forward. She hummed faintly under her breath, unaware of anything else until you still walk barefoot at night. The deep voice slid through the silence. Wine flinched violently, bumping her head against the shelf before whipping around. Her hand flew to her chest as she glared at him. God, 𝐁𝐽𝐬. She hissed sharply, breathing hard. Don't sneak up on people like that. 𝐁𝐽𝐬 chuckled, leaning casually against the doorframe, eyes glinting with amusement. His gaze dropped deliberately to her bare feet on the tiled floor. Still walking barefoot at night. You'll catch a cold. She rolled her eyes, snatching a packet of chips out of the cabinet. You still talk too much. His smirk deepened. He shook his head as he walked toward her, holding something in his hands. And you? His voice dropped lower, teasing. You know how to answer back now. You have really grown up. Before she could fire back, he bent down, slow, deliberate, and set her slippers neatly in front of her feet. The closeness of his broad frame and the subtle brush of his shoulder made her pulse skip. One flushed red for no reason, her heartbeat thudding in her chest as if she were still a teenager. She quickly cleared her throat and slipped her feet into the slippers, avoiding his eyes. Do you want something from the kitchen? Water. He answered simply, though his eyes were focused more on her than the counter. She grabbed a glass and poured it, trying to calm her racing chest. But when she turned, his gaze slid over the pile of snacks and cold drinks in her arms. Stocking up, he asked the girl, "I assume you are going to play a game." She nodded lightly, adjusting her hold on the bottles. He tilted his head, lips curling. "Are you sure we can win?" Her eyes narrowed. "Are you challenging me?" "Yes." He didn't hesitate. She set the snacks down with a little half fine challenge accepted. She stormed out, rolling her eyes, while Jungkook followed with a small smile. The TV lit their faces as controllers clicked rapidly. Jungkook leaned forward, focused, while Wine bit her lip in concentration. Within minutes, he defeated her twice. Not bad. He teased smugly, eyes flicking to her frustrated pout. But not good enough. Her jaw tightened. One more. By the time she won 3 matches in a row, she shot up from the couch, throwing her hands up. "Yes, take that, John Jungkook." Her laughter rang out bright and triumphant. He laughed too, low and warm, watching her jump around in excitement. Something in his chest twisted. She hadn't changed. That laugh, that light, it made him smile without meaning to. His eyes fixed on her like she was the only thing in the room. Wine caught him staring and froze mid-chair, scratching her neck nervously. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Jungkook leaned back on the couch, draping one arm casually behind her, his fingers brushing against her hair, trailing a strand lazily between his fingers. "I thought you would hate me." She blinked at him. "Why would I hate you?" "Because I rejected you." His voice was soft but heavy. Her lips parted before she let out a small awkward laugh. That was me being immature, impulse. Teenager things didn't matter now. Besides, you rejected me politely, you didn't humiliate me. I moved past it long ago. He stared at her, unreadable, before leaning in closer. His words came low, almost a confession, but I haven't moved past it. Her breath hissed. "What?" "I'm still stuck there." He admitted, eyes burning into hers. "I came here for you, Wine. Not for Dylan's wedding. You have consumed my mind and my heart ever since that day. I didn't notice you before you confessed, but after, I started looking for you everywhere." The room grew smaller, air thicker. She sat frozen, heart hammering in her chest as his face hovered closer. Then his voice dipped lower, a teasing call in his words. "Tell me, do you have a boyfriend?" She swallowed, then shook her head. A slow smirk spread across his face. He lifted his hand, brushing the pad of his thumb over her lips, light, possessive. "Good, because he wouldn't have survived. Now your boyfriend is Jungkook. Don't think about anyone else and get rid of that Steve or whatever his name is. If I deal with him, it won't be good." Her eyes widened, mouth falling open at his audacity as he stood up, smoothly towering over her. "Your boyfriend is only Jungkook, no one else." "Wait," she called, spinning around on the couch. "I don't agree to that. And Steve is just a colleague. He only wants to start a business with Dylan." Jungkook only shrugged over his shoulder, utterly unfazed. His smirk still in place as he walked away. Wine sat there, face flushed, heart racing uncontrollably. She buried her hot cheeks in her hands, whispering to herself in disbelief. Idiot. But she couldn't stop smiling. Time skip. The late afternoon sunlight streamed through the wide windows of the Lee residence, golden warmth spilling across the living room where Dylan and Steve sat chatting. The atmosphere was easy and pleasant, Steve's calm, polite demeanor blending well with Dylan's loud, joking nature. Wine had brought in a tray of tea and snacks, setting it down on the table before taking a seat across from Dylan. Her soft laughter joined theirs now and then. Even Steve cracked a rare smile as Dylan launched into one of his ridiculous stories about their school days. Steve's gaze lingered a little long on Wine's face when she laughed, but she didn't notice. Attention was on Dylan's antics. And then the door opened. Jungkook entered, broad-shouldered and commanding without effort. His steps slowed at the side before him, Wine laughing while Steve sat across, eyes fixed on her, like he was memorizing every moment. Jungkook's jaw tightened. Without a word, he strode over and plopped down beside Wine, so close their shoulders brushed. His sharp eyes locked on Steve, a glare that made the poor man blink in discomfort. Dylan glanced up, half surprised, half amused. "You're back, Jungkook. This is Steve. Steve, this is Jungkook, my best friend since forever." Jungkook didn't even bother glancing at him. Dylan blinked at the sight, his brows raising. Steve, trying to lighten the mood, smiled faintly and teased. "Wine has quite the laugh. You should have heard. She always laughs like that." Jungkook cut in, his tone sharp, almost rude. His arm stretched lazily across the back of the sofa behind Wine, but instead of resting it idly, his fingers found her hair and began trailing the strand absent-mindedly. Wine stiffened immediately, eyes widening. What the hell is he doing? He then leaned down slightly close enough for his breath to brush Wine's ear. "You look too pretty today," he whispered, his voice low and teasing. "Don't blame me if men keep staring. I might have to bite them off." Wine's face burned scarlet. She shot him a glare, whispering furiously, "Shut up, you pervert," before turning her face away, refusing to meet his eyes. Steve, visibly uncomfortable now, cleared his throat. "I should probably get going. I have taken enough of your time." Before Dylan could protest, Jungkook was already up, practically ushering Steve toward the door with a polite but firm hand. "Please, you may go." Jungkook said smoothly, though his eyes were anything but kind. Steve blinked, muttered a quick goodbye to Wine and Dylan. Jungkook dropped back by Dylan, shot him a suspicious glare, and followed Steve to the front door. Wine was glaring at Jungkook. "What?" Jungkook raised a brow, feigning innocence. "You almost scared him off." Wine snapped, standing up and folding her arms. "This is not how you treat a guest, Jungkook." Jungkook tilted his head, calm and unbothered. "Good, I don't like competition." Her teeth ground together, frustration bubbling. "Competition, are you insane?" He only smirked, leaning lazily against the sofa. "You're angry, but it's cute." Her eyes widened. She was about to fire back when Dylan returned, looking between the two of them intently. "Cook," Dylan said slowly, his eyes narrowing. "You weren't like this before." For the first time that evening, Jungkook cleared his throat and sat straight, expression softening. Well, people and feelings change over time. The weight of his words made Dylan pause. His gaze lingered, understanding too much, but instead of pressing, he only nodded once. "True enough." Breaking the tension, Wine exhaled loudly and announced, Anyway, I need to book an appointment at the parlor. Haven't gone in weeks. Darren grinned. Go ahead, pamper yourself, you deserve it. Her eyes softened and she smiled warmly. Thanks, Darren. But Darren never missing a chance to make. Though honestly, even if you don't go, you still look the same, which is like a sleepy raccoon who hoards snacks. Darren, she cried, sweating at him while pouting. Jung chuckled quietly at their sibling banter, his gaze soft as he watched the bond between them. I'm serious. Darren teased further, laughing as she puffed her cheeks and turned away dramatically. Forget it, she huffed, stomping out of the room. I'm booking it online myself. Her retreating figure made both men laughed. Jungkook's slow chuckle mixing with Darren's loud one. Later in her room, Wine lay on her bed with her phone, sulking as she scrolled through the salon's appointment slots. She muttered to herself, cheeks still warm. Stupid Jungkook, embarrassing me in front of Steve and Darren too. But despite her irritation, her fingers hesitated on the screen, her mind replaying the way Jungkook had whispered against her ear, the way he had glared at Steve with such raw possessiveness. Her heart thumped again. She quickly pressed confirm on her appointment, burying her face in a pillow with a muffled groan. Why does he have to affect me like this all over again? A few days later, one evening, Wan sat cross-legged on the couch, her phone in hand as she typed away, scrolling through contacts to send wedding invitations. Jungkook had been lounging nearby, pretending to read through some work emails, but his eyes kept sliding toward her. What are you smiling at? He asked casually, leaning a little closer. Nothing, she muttered, cheeks warming as she swiped through photos of her friends, Darren's fiancé and colleagues. Jungkook's brows furrowed, curiosity pricking at him. In one swift motion, he leaned forward and snatched her phone right out of her hands. Hey! Wan gasped, immediately scrambling to grab it back. Give it. But he had already scrolled into her gallery, his jaw tightening at the sight of a group photo from her office dinner. Wan in the middle, smiling brightly beside two of her male colleagues. Selfies with male colleagues. He grumbled under his breath, narrowing his eyes. I don't like it. Jungkook, she whined, tugging at his sleeve. Stop snooping. Give my phone back. But he ignored her, scrolling further with a deepening frown. Why are you laughing in all these pictures? Who made you smile like this? No one is just a picture, you idiot. She huffed, reaching for the phone, her cheeks burning. Finally, Jungkook smiled and tapped his own camera app, flipping it to a selfie mode. He snapped a quick picture, leaning close, had slightly amused eyes smoldering, and with small satisfaction set it as her wallpaper. They're much better, he said, handing her the phone back. Van gasped, staring at the screen. Are you crazy? She quickly changed it back, but the next morning he did it again and again, until one night she didn't remove it. Her heart betrayed her, skipping whenever she lit her screen. Jungkook's face staring back at her with that crooked little smirk. She never admitted it, but deep down she liked it too much. Darren noticed. He noticed everything, the way Wine avoided Jungkook's smirk grin, the way Jungkook always hovered a little too close, the wallpaper, but he stayed quiet. In his heart he knew Jungkook was perfect for her. A few days later, the lead residence was bustling with preparations. Wine was busy helping her father finalize invitations lists, folding envelopes, when she suddenly frowned, looking down at the pale pink dress laid across the sofa. I don't like this dress, she declared dramatically. Nope, I'm not wearing it. Her father pinched the bridge of his nose. Wine, you bought that just last week. I changed my mind. She started propping onto the couch with a pout. It doesn't feel right. I want something else. Darren sipping tea chuckled. Don't even try to argue with her dad. She'll walk the entire mall circle twice and still come home with nothing. Her father sighed deeply. Impossible. You're absolutely impossible. I'm not. Wine argued, puffing her cheeks. Fine. Darren said, fighting a grin. Buy another one? But you're not going alone. Jungkook will go with you. Wine froze. What? No, I don't need a babysitter. But Jungkook, who had just entered with his coffee, perked up instantly. I'm ready. His smirk was all too obvious. Wine narrowed her eyes at him but said nothing, her heart already thudding. The sleek black car smelled faintly of leather and Jungkook's cologne. Wine sat stiffly in the passenger seat, fumbling with her seatbelt until Jungkook leaned over, suddenly his large hands brushing hers as he buckled it for her. Her breath caught at the sudden closeness. Their eyes met, his gaze unwavering, sharp but warm. Overprotective much? She muttered sarcastically, trying to cover the wild rhythm of her heart. He leaned in closer, his voice a low whisper at her ear. Only when it comes to you. Her pulse jumped. She gulped, quickly turning her face toward the window. You're insufferable, he only chuckled. The drive to mall was quiet. When they arrived, crowds bustled everywhere, people brushing past. Jungkook's hand caught her wrist firmly, pulling her to his side. Stay close, he said seriously. She frowned. I'm not a child, Jungkook. What if someone tries to steal you? His tone was mock serious, but his eyes carried something darker, more possessive. I won't take the risk. Her heart warmed despite herself. Who would steal me? You're ridiculous. But he kept her close, glaring at every man who dared glance her way, his hand tightening protectively whenever the crowd grew too thick. Hours passed. Wine tried on dress after dress, rejected them all with frustrated sigh. Jungkook waited patiently, leaning against racks, arms folded, occasionally tossing a teasing comment. 4 hours later, she finally emerged from the fitting room in a flowing midnight blue gown. Jungkook's eyes widened, his throat went dry. Wine, she shifted nervously. What? You look. He shook his head, lips curling into a smile to hide the sincerity in his tone. Gorgeous, dangerous. I might not let you out in public wearing that. Her cheeks flamed. Shut up. She changed and asked the staff member to pack it. They then walked to the jewelry shop. She tried to pick something simple. Jungkook, however, kept pointing out couple rings, matching bracelets, necklaces with heart pendants. Not this, she said, firmly pushing his hand away. And definitely not this. Stop choosing couple jewelry. He pouted dramatically. What's wrong with it? They would look perfect on you. She ignored him paying for her earrings. Jungkook secretly bought the couple ring, slipping the little bag into his pocket without her noticing. By the time they returned to the car, Jungkook carried every single shopping bag with ease. Boyfriend did, he said matter-of-factly, while grown collapsing into the passenger seat, exhausted. Thank you, really. You waited all day. Jungkook sliding beside her, fastening her belt. Again, his hand lingering a moment on her shoulder. His eyes dark and soft. Don't thank me, he murmured possessively. It's what boyfriends do. Her face flamed scarlet. She turned away quickly, staring out of the window with her heart pounding. Jungkook's smirked eyes never leaving her flushed cheeks. He leaned back, satisfied. She doesn't realize it yet, but she's already mine. I hope she falls for me again. Time skip. The wedding hall was draped in lights and flowers, the air buzzing with joy. Guests filled the grand hall, laughter and music echoing everywhere. Jungkook adjusted his cufflinks absent-mindedly, but the moment his gaze landed on mine, his world stilled. She stood by the entrance, her midnight blue gown hugging her figure delicately, sparkling under the chandelier. His eyes widening without a second thought, he almost gasped out loud. Oh my god, he clutched his chest dramatically. Someone please hold me before I faint. How can a human look this ethereal? Heads turned and wine flushed instantly, glaring at him. Stop being dramatic, people are looking, but Jungkook ignored everyone, walking straight to her side like a man on a mission. He leaned down slightly, his lips quirking into a grin, and he softly said, I should have known you'd outshine even the bright tonight. He stayed glued to her, so close his arm brushed against hers, making her nervous. Men who tried approaching her quietly retreated under Jungkook's sharp gaze. She glanced up at him to scold him, but froze when she noticed something. Her eyes widened. Your suit? She hissed under her breath. It's midnight blue, exactly like my dress. Jungkook tilted his head, the smile tugging at his lips, growing wider. What a coincidence. Oh, he leaned closer, whispering against her ear. Maybe fate just wanted us to look like a couple. She quickly tugged at his sleeve, her cheeks warm, and whispered anxiously, Are you crazy? Everyone is staring weirdly. But he only shrugged, his eyes scanning the hall sharply as though daring anyone to question him. Let them stare, they should know you're not available. Before she could reply, two young men, distant relatives of the bride, walked toward her, smiling. Miss Lee, you look beautiful tonight. Would you mind if we... But before he could finish, Jungkook's voice cut in dark and cold. She's taken. The two men blinked at him in shock, while one stared at Jungkook with wide eyes, mouth parted. The men quickly retreated with awkward chuckles, and Jungkook only crossed his arms, satisfied. Wine hissed. What was that? He only gave her a look so unbothered it made her blood boil. Before she could argue, Dylan called Jungkook over. Jungkook, come here for a second. Reluctantly, Jungkook left her side. Wine walked over to Mr. Lee and clutched his arm, needing some ground beneath her feet. He cooed, patting her cheek. My baby looks like a princess tonight, and my dad looks like a king. Mr. Lee laughed while she smiled, heart softening as her father kissed her forehead tenderly. The ceremony went on beautifully. Dylan and his bride exchanging vows, tying the knot as cheers erupted. Wine and her father congratulated them warmly, while Jungkook and Dylan's friends gathered around as well. Later, as music filled the room and couples moved to the dance floor, one stood beside her father, lost in watching Dylan with his bride. That's when a shadow loomed, and she turned to see Jungkook standing there, extending his hand. He smiled politely and wistfully. May I have the honor to dance with your daughter, if you don't object, sir? Mr. Lee chuckled warmly, glancing between the two. Go ahead, just bring her back in one piece. Wine blinked at her father's words while Jungkook grinned, promise. He gently took Wine's hand, guiding her toward the dance floor. Her heart thumped wildly as his other hand slid around her waist, pulling her close. She hesitated before placing her hand on his shoulder, their fingers intertwining naturally. The world faded as they swayed together. His eyes never left her. Wine avoided his gaze and badly whispered, Why are you staring like that? Jungkook leaned closer, his voice dropping low, threading through her veins. Because I wasted years not looking at you, don't stop me now. Her breath caught her cheeks heating. She glared to hide her blush and muttered, Pervert, I was a minor back then. He chuckled softly, the sound rumbling against her chest as he pulled her even closer. He teased, and now you're not. She glanced nervously toward Dylan, whispering quickly, Dylan is looking, what will he think? Jungkook's gaze softened, a rare gentleness in his eyes. He's not a child. By now he must know if he had objections. He would have stopped me already. She looked down, biting her lip. He pressed his forehead against hers, their breaths mingling, as he whispered earnestly, I'm leaving the day after tomorrow. I need an answer from you before I go. If you don't want me, I'll take the memories and disappear forever. But if there's even a little part of you that feels the way I do. His hand tightened at her wrist. Don't make me leave empty-handed. Her lips parted, her eyes meeting his for a fleeting second before she quickly looked away, overwhelmed. Jungkook closed his eyes, letting out a deep breath, fighting to steady his heart. From afar, Dylan watched them closely. He was about to step forward when he heard his wife's cousin say to another guest, Did you know? Jungkook used to be my boss. There was also a rumor he liked some girl but rejected her once. He never looked at anyone else since. Someone even stole a little girl's picture from his office, and it turned out to be one. She's the same girl from the photo. Dylan froze, realization slamming into him. His mind pieced everything together, the stares, the protectiveness, the jealousy, the possessiveness. He clenched his jaw, but kept quiet. Now wasn't the time. Instead, he watched his best friend and his little sister sway together under the golden light, Jungkook holding her as if she were the only person in the world. But the sight burned his eyes. Time skip. The morning after Dylan's wedding, the Lee mansion was unusually quiet. Sunlight poured through the curtains, glinting on the polished floors, but the joy from the night before seemed to have faded. Jungkook walked downstairs, fixing the cuff of his shirt, when he heard Dylan's firm voice from the stage. Jungkook, a word. Jungkook raised a brow. Something about Dylan's tone was different, heavy, sharp. He had already noticed the slight change since last night. Dylan's sarcastic quips, the bitter edge to his replies. He had shrugged it off, but now he stepped into the study. Dylan was by the desk, arms closed, jaw clenched. Tell me honestly, did Wine ever like you before? Jungkook froze for a fraction, but then straightened his posture, masking his surprise. It's nothing like that, he said smoothly, but Dylan snapped. Don't lie to me, I know everything. Jungkook, better not insult me with lies. Jungkook sighed, his shoulders dropping instantly. His eyes softened, but his voice was low. Yes, she did. Years ago, I rejected her. Dylan's fist flew before Jungkook could blink. Pain bloomed across his cheek as Dylan growled. How dare you hurt my baby sister? Jungkook clenched his jaw, the metallic taste of blood at the corner of his lips. His dark eyes lifted, calm but intense, as he muttered. She was a minor. I couldn't, I wouldn't. Doesn't matter, you should have been careful with her feelings. He let out a deep breath, stepping back. His anger began to crumble into worry. Stay away from her now, Jungkook. I can't risk you playing with her heart again. Jungkook's brows furrowed, his voice was clipped, almost offended. Do you really think so low of me? Dylan stared at him, searching his eyes. After a long pause, he muttered, No, but I'm scared for her. She's everything to me. I can't see her hurt. Jungkook exhaled slowly, his gaze firm. I wouldn't hurt her, never. He turned toward the door, but Dylan called after him softly. Jungkook, he turned back. Dylan approached, guilt in his eyes. I'm sorry, I was furious, acted on impulse. Jungkook raised a brow, his lips twitching. Sorry, accepted. Then without warning, Jungkook punched him back square in the face. Dylan stumbled, holding his joint close. Damn it, I'm the newly-wed groom. Jungkook grinned. Some decoration is needed. They both broke into laughter despite the sting in their faces. Jungkook left the room, but the conversation lingered in the air. By afternoon, Dylan and Alice left for their honeymoon. The mansion felt emptier without Dylan's loud presence. Wine, however, couldn't shake the restless pounding in her chest. She hadn't seen Jungkook since the morning, and the whispers from staff confirmed her fear. He was packing to leave tomorrow. Her feet carried her to his guest room. It was half empty, luggage stacked neatly. She found him outside on the balcony, the wind tugging at his hair. She called him out softly. Jungkook. He turned, surprise flashing in his eyes before settling into something incredible. She walked over and sat beside him on the bench. What brought you here? She frowned when her gaze landed on the bruise smiling his cheek. Instinctively, she cupped his face, her thumb brushing over the tender skin as she worriedly asked, What happened to you? Nothing. She insisted. Tell me, please. His side eyes flickering away. Dylan was furious, said I hurt you once. He wasn't wrong. One blinked, then softened. She leaned closer, gently touching his waist with her fingertips and whispered, Does it hurt? He shook his head faintly, lips turning into a small smile. No, I returned it to him anyway. Her laughter spilled out light and warm, her eyes glimmering as she stared at his side profile. He, however, didn't dare to look into her eyes, afraid he would lose his composure. Jungkook, he hummed, and she turned his face fully toward her. Her quiet voice trembled. Are you really leaving tomorrow? His gaze softened at the break in her voice. Dylan and Alice left today. Is it necessary to leave me and Dad all of a sudden too? Jungkook cupped her face with one hand, his thumb stroking her cheek tenderly as he said in low and husky tone, I came here for a reason, but I'm hopeless one. I have to go back, my mom is waiting. She bit her lip, eyes glistening. Then why did you move cities back? Then why did you leave? He gazed at her like he was imprinting her features into memory. Because we had to flee from my stepdad, he was horrible. Her heart squeezed, she held his wrist gently, and now he shrugged lightly. He died in an accident. Silence hung heavy yet intimate. One's voice trembled as she whispered, Can you not go? His hands slid up, brushing strands of hair from her forehead. Until when she bit her quivering lip, then leaned forward, burying her face against his shoulder, and her voice came out muffled and trembling. Forever I want to be with you. His arms tightened instantly around her, pulling her flesh against him. He pressed his lips into her crown, closing his eyes and murmured, Are you sure? She nodded, her face still buried in his neck. His voice broke into a smile. Thank you so much, Juan. She pulled back slightly, looking up at him. What about your mom? He kissed her chin gently. His voice husky. I'll call her here, start my business here. Officially, I'll stay. Her lips curved into a shaky smile, his gaze darkened, dropped into her mouth and whispered, I love you. And then his lips captured hers firm, desperate, hungry. She gasped, but melted instantly, her arms wrapping around his neck as his mouth moved against hers. The kiss deepened quickly, his tongue brushing hers as he tilted her head back, devouring her with years of longing. Her hands twisted in his shirt, tugging him closer. His fingers slid into her hair, tugging gently, while his other hands played across her back, pressing her into him. The balcony spun, the world vanished. It was only them. One breathlessly whispered against his lips, Jungkook, say it again, my name sounds better from you. He murmured against her mouth and kissed her again, slower this time, gentle, savoring every taste. His lips trailed to her jawline, then down to the curve of her throat, pressing hot, lingering kisses. She shivered, clutching him tighter. He pulled back just enough to meet her dazed eyes, his thumb brushing across her swollen lips. His voice was husky and possessive. You're mine now forever. She nodded. Jungkook pulled out a ring box, revealing the couple rings. She gasped, This is the rings from the other day. Poor me, thought you would accept me right away. He said with such pitiful face that made one laugh. She playfully punched his arm, mumbling, "Shut up, you're just too dramatic." He chuckled, sliding it to her finger while Vine slid his into his finger. They both grinned and stared at the sky, their fingers intertwined and Vine's head on his shoulder.